Welcome to the Leafy Podcast, helping real estate investors and entrepreneurs grow. Say hello to your hosts, Jennifer Glagoric and Brian Price, founders of Leafy Legal Services, teaching you how to protect your assets, grow your business, and manage your wealth. Let's start the show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Leafy Podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm Tammy Gerling, the podcast manager, and today joining me is Jennifer Glagoric. She is the CEO and founder of Leafy Legal Services. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for being here today, and I'll go ahead and hand it over to you so you can introduce our guest today.
Well, thank you, Tammy. Thank you for elevating me to CEO this week, although I know Brian won't be happy. He didn't show up, and he's actually the CEO. I'm the COO, but I can't wait to tell him that I got a raise and a promotion.
You're welcome.
He wasn't able to be here.
Hey, I want a raise.
What happens when you're not here?
Hey, give me a raise, Tammy. What the hell?
That's right. So today,
Mitch
guys,
is a badass.
Yeah. Oh, wait, don't even do them yet. Okay, we're doing it.
I just got elevated to badass status. I'll take it.
This is going to be a fun episode, guys. Today we have the coolest fellow Texan that's in the house. So this person has been an entrepreneur for a very long time, and he has bought one house a week on average, one house every 4 to 5 days for the last 20 plus years. So we really want to talk to him. He's done the majority of them, owner finance. He's written several books. His latest book is My Life in 1,000 Houses, The Art of Owner Financing, which is what everybody is kind of talking about right now with banks. He also created his own acronym. So everyone, please welcome the fabulous, badass Mitch Stephen. Welcome, Mitch.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, so just so you know, when we talk about owner financing, I'm not talking about buying my houses with owner financing. Oh, that's very cool. I sell my houses with 30-year fixed mortgages, and I do not require them to refi or anything. As a matter of fact, I prefer they just make me 30 years worth of payments. Because have you ever done that calculation? If you had a 30-year mortgage, how much a person pays you for a house? They pay you about over 3 times the amount of the sales price. So I don't care if anyone ever refinances me. I set up a strategy where I don't need a bank to buy houses because I use OPM or other people's money to buy houses. And then those people allow me to wrap their mortgage or wrap the debt that I owe them with my buyer's note, meaning that I don't have to pay off my underlying first lien holder who gave me the money to buy the house. When I sell the house on payments, I don't have to pay. So what happens in short, I sell the house, say like for 100 grand with 10 grand down. They owe me 90 grand for 30 years at 10%, payable monthly. They owe me $850 a month. I owe $350 a month. I get to keep the $500 in the middle, and I'm not a friggin' landlord. I'm the bank. So if your air conditioner breaks, don't call me because it ain't my air conditioner. It's your air conditioner. And do you like the way that I use the word ain't?
I do. I find that extremely fancy. So how did you decide to do that? And talk a little bit about the person who gets the money. Like, when do they get their payoff? Like, how do you pitch that to your investors? Let's do a basic deal, just like 10,000 foot view, a basic deal. I'm going to use some numbers I know, but you know, the owner finance strategy works in affordable houses. It doesn't work that well in $500,000 houses and $1 million houses and 700. But you get a house under 150,000 or under 200,000, it could start to work pretty well. The trick is you want your owner financed PITI payment to be equal to or right around whatever the rent is in that neighborhood, so that every renter in the neighborhood is your prospect. Why would you rather rent for $1,000 a month, or would you rather own for $1,000 a month? That's where I try to position myself, because if you would rather own for $1,000 a month, I can do it in your neighborhood. You know, you need to call your landlord and quit. You need to call me and sign up. So the difference being a down payment, because the people that need my owner financed houses, they don't have perfect credit, or they can't qualify for some reason. They're broken somewhere, you know?
Otherwise, I could just go to a bank and get a 4% loan or whatever. I sell my houses on average 10% interest, 30 years. That's my standard term. So let's do it right off the top of my head. Let's just do an example. I got a house that I want to buy, and I drive into this neighborhood. Well, I can't buy a house until I figure out what I can sell it for, because how in the hell do I make an offer if I don't know what I can sell it for? So I got this formula. You guys got your pencils and paper ready? Because you're going to need this. I got this formula. My goal is to be able to sell this house and end up with a principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and possibly servicing fee payment, PITIS. The S stands for servicing fee. Did you know you could charge your note servicing fee in addition to the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance? I bet you didn't. Well,
no, I did not know that.
So when you sell your houses and you plan on getting a servicer to take care of the collections, figure out what their fee is and add it to the monthly payment that they have to send in. PITIS. So I want my principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, for this example, insurance, not the servicing fee, but just principal, taxes, insurance, principal, interest, taxes, insurance. I want to arrive at a sales price based on what the rents are. So you take the rent. Let's say the rent, I'm using easy numbers here, $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then you minus the monthly taxes and the monthly insurance. So let's say the taxes are 100 and the insurance 50. So 1,000 minus 150 is 850. That's how much money this person has for a principal and interest payment. This renter has 850 because, you know, the taxes and insurance aren't his, nor are they mine. They belong to someone else. So this is all we got to work with is 850. So 850 times 115 equals how much they can borrow. And that 115, that multiplier, it represents 10%, 30 years. I just went to this really smart guy because I'm not really smart. And I said, hey, why do I have to get into a mortgage calculator all the time and enter all this data? Isn't there a multiplier I can multiply their principal and interest amount by to arrive at what they can borrow if the terms are 10% in 30 years? The other way to do it is, you know, you put in 850 for the payment,
Mm-hmm.
you put in 30 years for the term, you put in 10% for the rate, and you solve for the balance, right? And that would give you the same thing that this 115 is going to give you, more or less. So 850 times 115 equals $79,750. Okay, I don't know about you, Jennifer, but where I live, that's, I'm sorry, $78,750. Where I live, that is $79,000.
Right.
Actually, I'm wrong again. It's $77,750, right? Yep.
I need a calculator. So
Oh,
whatever you tell me.
It is. I just, you know, I haven't done this example in a long time. So, but it's $77,750, which where I live is $78,000. I don't deal in any numbers that don't have zeros at the end. So, that's how much they can afford to finance. And if you get out your financial calculator and you plug in 10%, 30 years, 78,000, you're going to come up really close to $850 a month. So if they can finance $78,000, we want to add, in this formula, we want to add 12% to that number. And that becomes your OFV. What is the OFV, you may ask?
Yes. What is the OFB? I am asking.
The OFV is the owner financed value, which is a value based on the rents. And this is the formula straight through without any interruption. The rent minus parenthesis taxes plus insurance, close parenthesis, times 115 plus 12% equals the OFV. So what's really cool is you can drive into a neighborhood, you can be sitting in front of a house you're fixing to go look at to try to buy it. It's really easy to find the rents in most neighborhoods, real easy. Rent-O-Meter, whatever. You find the rents real quick. Call the apartments too across the street. If the apartment for a 3-2 is renting for $1,000, then a real house with a garage and a front yard and a backyard ought to rent for more, right?
Right.
privacy. Don't have people above you, below you, next to you. Okay, so did y'all get the formula?
Yes, kind of. I'll have to go look over it again, but I was writing as fast as I could. You see all my little notes.
I'm going to say it one more time. The rent minus parenthesis monthly taxes plus monthly insurance, close parenthesis, times 115 equals, times 115 plus 12% equals the OFV. All you got to know is that 115, that multiplier, represents 10% in 30 years.
Got it.
Okay, so when you do this, the owner finance value of this house is $112,000. Now, I want to make something perfectly clear. I don't give a damn what the CMA is, what the appraiser says, what the brokers prefer. I don't give a damn what he says. Those numbers are for people that can get a new loan. They can't get a new loan. I'm just trying to get this poor guy across the street into a house and be the owner for what he's paying for rent across the street. That's all I'm trying to do. And the price is $112,000. And if you don't like that price, go find someone else to finance your ass. Okay?
Okay.
Excuse my French. I got kind of passionate there for a minute.
We're going to put the things alert.
Okay, so if someone wants to, and this never happens, but someone wants to complain about my interest rate, hey, go find someone who will give you 6%. Good luck. Or why don't you just buy my house and quit being a renter until you find that guy, which you may never find that guy, but if you do find him, then refinance me, But right now you're wasting. I had realtors say, well, you're ripping these people off because your sales price is 112 and the CMA on this house is 80,000. I said, well, I'm not ripping them off. The landlord's ripping them off. What's the rent going to be in 5 years from now? This is a fixed mortgage. What's the rent going to be in 10 years from now? Make them give me an answer. If the rent's 1,000 right now, like we'll pretend you're the dastardly realtor, okay, Jennifer? No.
We love our realtor.
We're going to make sure, we're going to pretend that Tammy's the dastardly realtor, okay?
Okay.
You're the dastardly buyer standing behind her. Okay, Tammy, if the rent's $1,000 right now, what do you suppose the rent's going to be in 5 years from now?
With inflation, it'll be much higher than that.
I know, you got to give me a number. Like if it's 1,000 now in 5 years, will it be 1,100? Will it be 1,150? Will it be 1,200? What do you think?
$1,250.
$1,250. What do you think?
I live in Orlando. It'll be more than that.
Okay, $1,250. What do you think it'll be 15 years from now?
Probably $2,000.
Okay, what do you think 25 years from now?
I don't know if things continue on in maybe 2,500.
2,500, and in 30 years from now, what do you think the rent will be?
Oh gosh.
Do you see, Mrs. Realtor, how the price is insignificant to this poor man who's paying rent? Because his payment is going to be the same, $850 a month, with some minor increases for taxes or insurance, which we all have to live with. Okay, but his payment's going to be the same year 15, year 20, year 25, and in year 30 he's going to go to zero. Okay, and in year 30 the rents may be $3,000 a month. Who knows? You know what I mean? And then how much appreciation does your client Jennifer here get when she's a renter? How much appreciation? How much money does she get when the house appreciates? She gets zero, right? Exactly. Well, all the appreciation of this property over 30 years. What do you think a $100,000 house will be worth in 30 years? What do you think it'll be worth?
Like $300,000, maybe.
Okay, and no one really knows, and you don't know. You don't have, but we damn sure know you're probably pretty close, or you may even be low. You know what I mean? So under the rental thing, so I'm not ripping off anybody. I'm just presenting an option B for people that can't take option A. Okay, and anyone gives me any crap about that, they're going to have a bad day because
if anyone gives you crap about that, the reality is renting, you have no protections whatsoever. Renting is one of the worst. So I understand for people who are over upper middle class and above, they will argue that renting is the way to go. And for them and the properties that they live in and what they do, I can see that is true for some people. They only rent. They won't ever pay off their house. They feel that that is actually a good financial strategy for people in a certain economic bracket. However, if you are not in that economic bracket and you are lower to lower middle class, even if you're just trying to get to middle class, not having the safety net of having a mortgage is, you just don't realize. So let's say something happens at work. There's been a flood. You don't get paid on the first like you normally do. Your pay now is going to be maybe up to 2 weeks late because there was a flood and the machines and they're trying to work with everyone. They're going to pay everybody. It's a small business. And sometimes these things happen. It's not always like the corporate world with most people who work.
Well, and
on day 3, when you live in an apartment, you get charged a $50 late fee. On day 4, you get another $50 late fee. A lot of people who are not really renters don't understand that just being late on your rent, you can get evicted, kicked out, and you have hundreds of dollars worth of fees. A mortgage is quite different. Plus, you have equity built into mortgage. There is a safety net in the mortgage. It is a safer place to live, even though it costs to fix your house and everything else. So I would argue that left and right.
And it will quickly become that middle to lower middle America person's greatest asset. It'll be the biggest chunk of their net worth that there is, very quickly.
Absolutely.
In most of the scenarios. Okay, so now that we got the formula, I'm at this house, I want to buy it. So I start out making offers on houses of 50% of what I can own or finance the house for. So I'm going to go into this house at $110,000. I'm going to go in offering, $55,000. Now, I may not buy it at that. I can pay a little more. I'll pay up to 65% of that of the OFV. Okay, I'll pay up to 65%. Sometimes I'll pay a little more, but that's kind of where I start to stand real hard in my negotiations. But the reason why I start at 50%, you know why? Because I can divide by 2 real easy, and I can't do 35% very good in my head.
Okay. I get that.
So, and if I get the 50%, it's a great deal. Anyways, and it also sets people's expectations low from the very beginning from me, my sellers. All right, so let's say I negotiate and I buy this house, and I do get it for the 50%. I'm going to borrow 52, so I'm going to borrow $57,000. I always borrow $2,000 more from my private lender than what it takes me all in. Closing costs, sales price, closing costs, repairs. I borrow all that, plus I borrow $2,000. Why would I borrow an extra $2,000? Oh, because I just want some bar money. No, that's not why. It cost me about $2,000 to find this guy. How many houses am I buying a year? About 100 a year. If I leave $2,000 worth of advertising in 100 houses, how much money have I left laying around? $200,000. Do that 5 years in a row, you left $1 million laying around in advertising. I don't have $1 million to lay around in 5 years. So I replenish my advertising budget. So at $57,000, I owe about $350. I sell this house for $110 with $12,000 down, about 10%. In this case, I said 12% down. So I won't accept less than 10%. I averaged 12% down in the last 300 houses. There's reasons for that, which we could go into one day. But so I'm going to get $12,000 down, and I'm going to finance the $98,000. Be around for 30 years at 10%. It's going to be around $850. I'm going to collect a $500 positive cash flow for 30 years. 30 years is 360 months. 360 months times 500 is $180,000 of positive cash flow I'm still owed after I put $14,000 in my pocket. $2,000 to replenish the advertising budget and $12,000 that I'm going to go pay my bills with. $12,000 the down payment. I'm going to, if I do that 3 times a month, I'm putting $36,000 in my pocket a month. I don't have to touch the cash flow. I just let that keep stacking up. I don't have to sell my notes. I just let that keep stacking up. At $500 a month positive cash flow, how much do you have coming in if you have 300 notes? You have $150,000 a month coming in. Okay, why do you need to sell any notes? So, 100 houses averaging $10,000 down a house is $1 million in down payments. That's what I pay my bills with, feed my family, make my car payment, whatever you got. You think $1 million a year is good enough to do that with? Yeah, I think so.
Just a little bit.
You see any reason why you need to dip into that $150,000 a month?
Yeah. No.
Well, my office overhead runs $30,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm only getting to keep $120,000 a month on the positive cash flow. So that's my strategy. You should be able to make money while you're building a cash flow. Now, there is a downside to owner financing. There's pros and cons to everything. When you're a landlord, you get appreciation and depreciation. This isn't my house, so I'm not getting the appreciation, but I don't own it anymore, so I don't get the depreciation. So I'm losing those two benefits. But let's talk about the first loss. The first loss was appreciation. What did I buy the house for, Jennifer?
You bought the house for, oh my God, for $78,900. Yeah.
No, $57,000.
Yeah, $57,000.
What did I sell it for?
100 and some odd, 10,000. Yeah.
110. I did that in less than 30 days. Like, how much appreciation do you landlords want? You want to annualize that?
Right.
Well, there was 100%, about 100% appreciation in the first month. To get annualized that, you'd have to, it's 1,200%, you know what I mean? Over 1,200%. So I'm not worried about the appreciation part. I get my appreciation right now. I'm not waiting 8 years for it, 10 years for it. I'm not waiting. And depreciation, I don't get, but I own a business. I just have to learn how to live out of my business. Do I own a phone? I don't own a phone. Do I own a car? I don't own a car. Do I use a phone? Yes, it's the businesses. It gets to write off. Most people don't. Most people with a JOB don't get to write off their phone. Most people with a JOB don't get to write off their car. This year, with Trump, they let me accelerate. If your vehicle weighed over 6,000 pounds, and I drive a 4-wheel drive long bed 4-door truck, which weighs over 6,000 pounds, and there's a reason why I drive that truck, because if it's over 6,000 pounds, it's classified as commercial equipment. If you own commercial equipment, they let you take the full sales price off your income in 1 year. So I took $75,000 off my income.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. So there's always another level to go. When you're trying to make money, your first level is to figure out how to make money. When you make a lot of money, your next level is to figure out how to keep the money you're making, because everybody wants to take it, including the IRS, your silent partner.
Right.
So do you see where this might be a great strategy? And guess what? How many phone calls do I get a month over? My air conditioner's broke. My toilet's broke. My hot water heater's on. I don't get any of those.
Zero.
Zero phone calls. Matter of fact, I don't even get phone calls about collections, and I don't even do collections because I got a note servicing company in the state of Texas called Moat Note Servicing. Moat, like a moat around a castle. MOAT, noteservicing.com. They charge me $35 a month to take care of my notes. And so when I set up notes, I'm charging the $850 principal and interest, plus the monthly taxes, plus the insurance, plus the $35 servicing fee. So I'm not even paying the servicing fee. My home buyer's paying it. Okay?
Yeah, and they're getting out of rent.
Yes.
I like the idea of people getting out of the rental. They have something, and then let's say they work really hard on their credit. They're making their notes on time. They have the ability to refinance that and get into something different. You're still able to do something, and they've been able to change their life completely.
It's a win-win all the way around. That's what it's all about. That's why I love the strategy, because I'm taking probably lifelong would-be renters and giving them a chance to own a home. Right. You know, a lot of them don't speak the language. You know what I mean? And I make sure that that I know that the titles are clean. Now I don't provide title insurance when I sell my houses. Most of my people don't ask or require that I do, but I know that the title is clear because I had a title policy when I bought it. I know that the only lien on it was disclosed in that wraparound mortgage. It was the lien that my private lender loaned me the money to buy the house for $57,000. That's all disclosed in a wraparound mortgage. That's the point of a wraparound mortgage, is to disclose to the buyer that there are debts besides his, that could cause a problem. It's been 24 years I've been in business. I retired for 2 years, so I've been actively buying houses for 22 years and all that. I've never been foreclosed on. I never filed bankruptcy. I never filed chapter anything, 7, 13, anything. I've never defaulted on a loan, and I'm rarely ever late. The only time I'm ever late is if there's a computer glitch or something gets lost in the mail. Just call me, and when I find out, we're made up. So I have a stellar track record for 24 years of making all these payments. Incidentally, I do that all with $20 million worth of private money. So if you're out there and you're not making 8% on your money and you'd like to consider someone to loan it to that has a good track record, I would like to raise my hand right now. Just go to Mitch at 1000houses.com and send me an email, and we'll have a conversation. Maybe if you're in my hometown, I'll buy you a steak someplace.
Woohoo! And steaks in San Antonio are super fancy. Okay, again, everybody, we're talking to Mitch Stephen at 1000houses.com. He's the author of My Life in 1,000 Houses, The Art of Owner Financing. That's actually one of several. He's written several books. That's his latest. Each one of them is amazing. But if you go to 1000houses.com, you'll be able to learn more about Mitch, find out how he does that, get into the business if you're, yourself. If you're an investor, maybe you'll find a new partner, and you might even get a steak dinner out of it if you're there in San Antonio. Anyway, we're about here to wrap up. Is there anything that you would like to get a good takeaway, a great piece of advice for our listeners, Mitch?
Yeah, I think the reason why I like this strategy is because it's recession proof. If there's such thing as a recession proof business, this may be recession proof. I'll run through the scenario real quick. Do we have time? We have 4 minutes, 5 minutes?
Yeah, we do. And anything that can be recession proof, that because I know it's on everybody's mind. The bubble, the this. I mean, I was just looking at the news this morning. There's 3 different headlines about this huge bubble. You know, like, I know you're happy, people, but don't be happy for long. It's just so gloom and doom.
When you get in a business that is recession proof, or is potentially recession-proof. I hate to say that it is recession-proof because, I guess it just depends on how bad is the recession. But the last recession was called the Great Recession. It's about as bad as a recession could get before you go into a depression, right?
Yeah, it was bad. It was
it was really bad. The Great Recession. So I'm going to assume that because I boomed like crazy in the last recession, 2008, 2009, all the way through 2005, 2015, whatever. It boomed. I boomed. I was buying a house a day, selling a house a day, until I scared myself. So what happened? Let's just play a game. You have to believe in 2 things to believe that to believe in this strategy. Number 1, do you believe that most of the renters out there would rather own for the same monthly cost?
Yes.
Okay, it's a given. I mean, whether it's 83% or 87% or 73%, whatever, it's a huge number, and there's plenty of people out there that want to do it. They just don't know that they can. You got to tell them. Number 2, you got to believe that banks close or stop lending when a recession happens. Do you believe that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's play a little game. Don't think about this too hard, Tammy. Don't want you to overanalyze, blow your brain up or anything. Just the first impulse that comes to your mind, common sense. When the banks stop lending money, what happens to the price of houses?
It goes down. I'll answer for Tammy because she's new.
Yeah, it goes down because most people can't write a check cash for a house, right?
Right.
So they got to borrow it, and if the banks quit loaning money, then they can't borrow it. And so the seller's out there going, well, I got to lower my price. I got to lower my price because it's not selling.
Right.
Okay. If people can't buy a house, what kind of house are they living in? If they're not living in a house they own, they're living in a house they
rent.
Yeah. So during the recession, buying slows down to a crawl. People can't get money from the bank, so they just continue to rent, or they rent. If they're coming into the market, they just rent because they can't get a loan. What happens to the prices of rent? What happens to the rent prices when people can't buy houses? Oh, no, I'm sorry. When there's a lot of pressure put on rents, what happens to the price of rents?
They go up.
Yeah. What's my sales price based on, Jennifer?
Rents.
So in the recession, I had the only appreciating house on the freaking planet because I was offering seller financing equal to whatever the rent payment was, and I was back into that formula. It's an anomaly that's so freaking dynamic that if you get your arms around with it, it can make you rich. And you almost... I don't want to pray for a recession because a lot of people will get hurt, and I don't want people to get hurt. But do you think I'm worried about a recession? I spend my months getting ready, staying clear, having all my problem properties liquidated. I am so ready for a recession. It's not even funny. I'm going to buy 200-300 houses in the next recession. Before, I wasn't sure how it worked because I'd never been there before. And so I would buy in a house a day for 45 days until I scared myself. One of the main reasons that scared me was I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to sell them. But when you're buying a house a day and you're the house buyer and you're the house seller, like I was back in the olden days, I was spending so much time buying houses, I didn't have time to sell any. So at 45 houses bought, I looked up, I had 45 vacancies because I couldn't do both at the same time. Oh. Now I have a sales department and I have an acquisitions department, and I'm in charge of raising money. I have $20 million worth of private money. And believe me, I will not stop at 45 houses next time. I am ready to go. And again, in the recession, people can't buy a house, but they can now from me. And my payment's the same as rent, the separator being, your credit's not that good or your situation's got some dings in it. So if you'll give me 10% or more down, I'll overlook those dings. And my average days on the market for the last 300 houses has been 9 days. My average down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boy, that's amazing. I bought my house as a single parent during the recession in 2010. And I did it through Ike money, or, we had a bond here because I live in Galveston and everything got wiped out. And I literally got a sweetheart of a deal for a house that is completely would have been unaffordable. And it was only because everybody else was raising. And I was going into houses where they said, oh, for my price range at that time, because Galveston's expensive, but I have to be here because my son goes to school here and all that. And two of the houses I remember we looked at, and I couldn't even go in the house because the mold was so bad. They said, we can't let you go in the house, but here's the house. And I thought I was spending a lot of money. And so I was like, and I was already pre-approved everything before I did it. And I ended up getting a beautiful home that has old original hardwood floors. I mean, I still need to renovate it. I still have renovations to do, but
there's a saying that I write inside of all my the first copy of my book. It's an anonymous, so I don't take credit for it, but I love it and I use it all the time. It's wealth comes from chaos. And so what happened was, there was a moment there of chaos in Galveston, and you capitalized on it.
I did. I did get to do it, and I got out of renting. I'd had a house before, had a terrible divorce, was renting. My rental for this, and I lived in one of the nicest complexes you can live in Galveston, but I would walk out, my next door neighbor would be sleeping on his mat because he was a UTMB med student, he would drink too much or they would fight, and it was just not a place to raise a child. And I was paying $150 more in 2010 than my mortgage is still to this day.
Wow. See?
And so I maybe not now, but I was the target person that would have been grateful to use your services back then. Just grateful. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wrote if you go to 1000houses.com, and I have a blog there, and I wrote that why this strategy is potentially a recession proof, but I also wrote the 7-way win, which ended up being like 12 or 15 ways win. Everybody wins. The neighborhood was winning because I was converting crack houses into real houses and cleaning up that neighborhood. I was taking houses that were potentially rent houses. I was making them into owners. What's better for a neighborhood? An owner, a house that's owned by the guy living in it, or a guy that rented it? It's better to have a house that's owned, right? I was taking the tax assessment. Now, the tax assessments on these houses would be $20,000-$30,000, and by the time I was finished with these houses, they were being assessed at 110 or 120, and that was revenue for the school districts and the fire department and the police, or wherever the hell they spend that money. And I was that was now increased forever. I was taking a renter and making them an owner. I was stabilizing a kid's school district, you know what I mean? So people could put down roots and stay there. So some of the children had it better because they weren't being transient all the time now, moving around. The list just went on. Contractors had jobs. we generated, when you start to rehab a house, it's one of the reasons the New Deal was so successful way back in the back. I think it was Roosevelt. He said, how you want to stimulate economy? Let's get involved in housing. Why? Because when you build a house, everything moves. Everything moves. Glass, metal, electric, carpet, tile, roofing materials, wood, nails, steel, everything moves. Everything moves. It starts semi trucks and tractors, and it starts engines all across the nation. People put the key in the keyhole and they turn it, and engines start revving all over the nation when you do in houses. So it just has a lot of benefits, a lot of wins.
It's a much better. Like just in the news this last weekend, they have people, if you don't want a family to move in, then you have people who get houses and use it to Airbnb. And then they become a party house, and then you have a mass shooting in the entire neighborhood. Because, that's what happened. I'm not saying that's all with Airbnb, but you when you have constant people in that you don't know who they are, it isn't as good as a stable family there, wanting to make it good for their kids and everything. So,
my friends and I in San Antonio, and I say my friends, the ones that we do this, a lot of this. And, there's a handful of people that do as much or more than I do, and I do a lot, 100 houses a year. There's a few guys out here. We change neighborhoods. We change the whole texture of a neighborhood, all of it, from the top to the bottom. We change, we start to actually invoke some of this gentrification. You know what I mean? Like, now it's good and bad, because when you start to change a neighborhood and the houses start to go up in value, the poor people that are living in the old house start to get to where they can't afford the taxes. And that's a problem. I don't know exactly what to do about it. Hopefully they got over 65 exemptions so that their taxes can't go up until they pass. You know what I mean? But that's that kind of accelerates gentrification, because people that are not over 65 who are living in those older houses, as these new houses start to get renovated all in the neighborhood and the price values start to go up, their taxes start to run them out of the neighborhood. So that's one small, tiny downside, but their properties are worth a lot of money, even though they're not fixed up or repaired. So they should be able to sell those unrefined houses and move to someplace that's good. You know what I mean? So anyways, that's what I do.
Okay, so Tammy, we're running over, but it was just been amazing. So thank you so much, Mitch, for being on here. And Tammy, take us away.
Sure. Yeah, thanks again, Mitch.
Go right here for all that free stuff. I got books. I got all kinds of free stuff here. 1000houses.com.
Awesome. Okay, good. We'll have it all in the show notes, and definitely visit Mitch at 1000houses.com. If you do have any questions for him that you would like me to pass on to him, email me at Tammy, Tammy, at Leafy Legal Services, and I will make sure that Mitch gets the message. And please do follow us on social media at Leafy Legal. And if you would like to listen to us, we are on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, we're everywhere. So thank you again, everyone, for listening. Thank you again, Jennifer, for being our host today. And Mitch, it's been awesome and enlightening, and I have so many notes, and I'm going to have to go back through my math to make sure I did that all correctly. So great podcast. Thank you, everyone, for being here again and listening in, and we will see you next time. Have a great day.
Attention real estate investors and entrepreneurs. Did you know that real estate investors are a primary target for lawsuits? According to the National Survey of the Court data, 25% of Americans risk being sued in their lifetime. However, if you are a real estate investor, you have a 95% chance of being sued in the next 20 years. Leafy Legal Services helps you protect your assets and strategically grow your business and wealth. Leafy Legal Services are experts at the Series LLC and Delaware Statutory Trust, two of the newest and most ideal legal structures for real estate investors. Leafy Legal Services have the most personalized and affordable solutions for setting up LLCs. Property owners are always at risk when it comes to their assets. Anonymity is so important. If you own just a rental house and you own your home, you have to protect yourself and your properties from any potential legal issues. Leafy Legal Services have the right solutions to make sure you are happy and feel secure. They offer cost-effective documentation that suits their clients' needs. For a free consultation and ebook, visit LeafyLegalServices.com. They are waiting to hear from you. LeafyLegalServices.com.
Follow us us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Don't wait. Take action now. LeafyLegalServices.com. Protect your assets, grow your business, and manage your wealth.